Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are. Because currently, for the first time, I think we are recording in the evening, in the afternoon at my place. But for you, Tina, it's like noon. And today we have two special guests who are in another timeline, and they are recording early morning for them. So we have three different time at this moment, three different time zones. So by the way, welcome to the first episode of 2024 for the Divine Mess. I'm pretty sure it's our 33rd one that we are recording. If not, it will be our 32nd one.
Somewhere around there.
We'll just go with that. But today we have two special guests that we invited that Tina chose to invite. And I was like, I have to do it. So for everyone who has known them, they have been like teachers or, like they have been like people who are always helping around. But I know it's a cliche what I'm going to say, but I have known them for my whole life. But before that, I'm going to introduce myself if it's the first time. I'm Kirtideva Peruman. I'm the CEO and founder of the Heroes Mystic. And every single week I turn up with my host from Perth, Tina Ryan, where she will introduce herself a bit later. And we talk about the divine mess, which is life, where we have fun conversation every week. And now we have started to invite guests, and that's why today we have two special persons that are special to me in a way, right? And it was.
I would hope so.
But we are going to record in French today, so it's going to be like a French or Creole. That's what Tina said, right? No, I'm joking. For everyone listening, so we have the Peruman today with us. So my father, Ravin Peruman, and my mom, Ruby Peruman. So Peruman means the great ones. So we have two great ones today with us, and I'm going to leave to them to introduce. Because for me, what I have to say is like they are both teachers. They have been my first teacher in my life. So I'm really grateful for that. And I never thought ever that I will be doing a podcast episode with them because they have been our favorite listeners for like since the first day. So I'm really grateful that they are on board, that they chose to come at this time in the morning to have breakfast while Tina is having lunch and while I will have dinner, right? And this is how we roll in the Divine Mess. So I will leave for Tina to introduce herself and then we'll move on to the esteemed guest, right?
Fabulous. Oh, hello. Hello, everybody. Tina Marie here. Intuitive strategist, mentor, coach, mother of four, mother to two fur children, super duper saleswoman. There's, you name it. I think I wear a lot of labels, so we can all describe ourselves a little bit differently every time that we step on board. And I like to, because I like to keep it interesting, and I get bored very, very quickly because I'm a creative, like my good friend. So we are very blessed to have some beautiful people join us today who, like David said, have been incredibly supportive of this crazy journey that we've chosen to undertake with one another and to share in our divine mess, which is David's life and mine, and how friendship comes from the strangest places, and that people who you've never met before within a short space of time can become some of your greatest supporters and the best listening free therapist. Lots of things that my dear friend has come to mean to me, and his parents have been amazing supporters of ours. So we were feeling very excited to have them on and for them to be able to share some of their key pieces of wisdom in navigating the divine mess that they have called their life and raising an amazing human who possibly as a teenager was not as amazing as we all know when we raise teenage boys, that they can require an extreme amount of patience, a great deal of love, and a little bit of sometimes I told you so. So I will hand it over to Ravin and Ruby and allow them to have a chat to us and share who they are.
So, as we say, ladies first. My wife will tell a bit about herself, her work, and her life, a little bit.
A little bit. You stop me when it's time to stop me.
Yes, ma'am.
So I am Mrs. Ruby Peruman. I live in Mauritius. My son, we are three Peruman. This is really very, for me, it's a big surprise. I did not expect to talk with Tina and my son. Thank you. Firstly, I am a mother of two children. My two children are abroad. My daughter is in Australia and my son Kirti Deva is in New Zealand. So we are proud, whether we are four, but we are very proud of our two children. So Kirti Deva for me really has changed my life. He always tell he's a first teacher. I was a pre-primary teacher, so I introduced me as I was a pre-primary teacher first, 30 years back. 30 years. Kirti Deva was one of my students, a very good student. Sometimes he listened to me, as you know how it did. No, it was not a real Kirti Deva. He was very spoiled by his grandfather. You know why? I did my pre-primary school at my place. So Kirti Deva is always around his grandfather. He's never at school. He's never in the class. He's always everywhere. Sorry, Kirti Deva, I must tell this. But know why I tell this? I see Kirti Deva is another person. I am proud of him. He's a big man. I feel very proud. For when he was at our place in Mauritius, I was always doing all things for him. I was very scared when one day he told me, Kirti Deva told me he will be going abroad. Really, I was shocking. I will be in New Zealand. Really? How will you do? You know how mother is it? The first time. How will you cook your food? How will you do all things? See? It was my really, it was my real. So then, I accepted. At the first time, I was very astonished, but because we were in Australia when he announced this. So when we turned back, I told Kirti, is it really? They told me, yes. Go to the bank, we start doing all the papers and all that. I will be in New Zealand. So I am very happy for that. For Kirti Deva, for me, he has changed me a lot. Today, I am very proud. I am talking. It's for me around the world. For me, I am very, very proud.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. You must stop me.
Well, she need to the day.
No, thank you. I am very proud. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Kirti Deva.
No
I
problem.
am very, very proud.
Yes.
I am very proud and happy. I know my Kirti Deva will come to see us.
Time to
Yes.
come home. Have mum's
Now
cooking
it's
again.
for me, it is very simple. I've been a high school teacher for nearly 43 years in a subject which most people like, physics, and also and also at the same time that I was teaching, I was at school, and firstly, I must tell you, I met my wife. You were talking about friendship a few moments back. We were in a club that's called Friends Club. It was 45 years back, Friends Club. And in that club, we were doing rehearsal for theater. We were doing debates, quiz, all that. And this is where I met her. And in a play called
Home Sweet Home.
Home Sweet Home, she was the actress who did. I was the husband. She was the wife, and
Better half. And really,
and we had 2 children in that play. And after that, we got married, and the play becomes a reality because when we opened the pre-primary school, the name was Sweet Home Pre-Primary School. So you can see it's a bit of romance in all this.
It's so important. The romance that it's still going
And
after
then,
that length of time, right?
yeah. And then came my daughter, and then there are many happenings in my life, which I will tell you later a bit. What happened, how resilient we become, and then came Deva also. At the same time, I had to follow courses, give tuition, and working. You know how it is. Life is so a divine mess, as you say. But now, when you join the dots, all these should have happened. Because today we are very happy where we are. I've been retiring 2 years ago, and now I am writing a bit about my memoirs. I'm writing a bit, and joining the dots, and is very now you can see really after all these years why this happened, that happened, etc. Each person has an individual journey, and we can't leave that person's life. This is what you must see that person as she or he is and understand. That's all. Very difficult for us. We must not go to judge quickly. Sorry, I'm becoming as a teacher. I'm teaching in class.
No, I was expecting to get schooled really well today.
Yeah. So we don't judge. This is why I like your podcast. Each time you talk about all these things, you talk how you how the obstacle, okay, how you
Overcome the obstacle.
overcome. Sorry, I can't get the word. Overcome the obstacles, each of you, and we relate to that. In our youth, we were like that. When we were raising our children, we were like that. Every day there was a new problem, not new problem, a sort of a, between inverted commas, the problem, and as parents, we must solve this each time. And I must say, in a way, we have been able to solve every day's problem. And this, as you said at the very beginning, this is what is wisdom. You gain it with You get it with experience. Experience is the greatest book I can say. I will not go
it's
further
so much,
than
it
that.
is so much that though, I think when you raise children, we want to fix all of their challenges and their problems. But the thing that we need to understand is that they need to experience it themselves. They need to experience the discomfort and the decision making that is required to be able to make good decisions, and sometimes to make the bad ones and hopefully learn the lesson that is intended from the mistake or the taking the wrong road, I suppose, or, you know, associating with kids that aren't necessarily good for them, but they are in a way because they're teaching them about their own sense of justice and right and wrong and how to treat other people, and perhaps sometimes that going along with everybody else isn't necessarily the direction in which they should be going. So it's really that internal battle that you hope that you have given them enough of your morals and values and enough of a foundation to be able to make really good choices. And if they don't make a really good choice, in knowing that you're there to listen to them as they process the not so good choices and perhaps the not so good people in their lives, and go, so what did we learn from that? And I think it's interesting when you go from learning how your parents raised you and then what you've taken from that, and then how you have then raised your children, and now how the next generation will be raising their own. And I look at the vast difference between how I was raised with the level of knowledge that my parents had, because I think we can't judge them for their inexperience or their level of knowledge. I think sometimes people are just treading water like a duck. They're just managing to get through the day and keep their head above water, that there isn't enough space to go to take on new knowledge, or to go to another parenting class, or to learn something different in order to be able to raise their children better. I think it's up to us as people that once you leave school, the learning doesn't stop. However, I've met a lot of people, and I'm sure the three of you have as well, who thought that once they had left school, that was it. You know, that whole concept of being a student has left them, and so they just get on with the mechanics of life. But what we've learnt in our friendship over the last nearly 2 years is that the learning never ceases. And once you become aware and awake of how things work, you can't unsee it. You know, you can't unsee the reasons behind people's behavior, the choices that they make, and being empathetic towards that. Whereas most people would just brush it off and go, well, they're not a really nice person, or, you know, they're difficult to deal with. People like myself and Dave are going, what do they need? How can we help them? You know, we're built to be of service to others, and I don't think we can be any other way. Sometimes it would be really nice to be able to walk away from people that have treated us poorly, but when you're in a situation where you can't, you then have to be the bigger person, and that takes a lot of energy to be secure and comfortable in who you are, and knowing that that person still has some growing to do. So I don't know how you feel about that, my friend, but that's kind of my take on raising children.
Tina, one thing that I must tell you,
Yes,
I
sir.
am also an academic success life coach. I prepared before retiring, I followed courses on coaching. I coach parents and their teenagers. I'm in meeting for 40 generations of teenagers at school. I've been working with students 15 to 20. And I know they talk to me every day. They talk about their parents. I met their parents. I go and talk to the Parents Teachers Association, to the parents, and we have coaching sessions with the parents, all that. And one thing is that the parents don't I can only 3 things I will tell you. Firstly, they must know that their children, their teens need them.
Yes.
This is something that many parents don't think about. The first thing. The second thing, the parents must change, because the game has changed today. With the screen, with everything has changed. People compare with each other morning and night, the teenagers, all that I know. It's another another ocean. Okay.
Well, it's a completely different landscape to what
Okay.
we knew as
And the
children,
third
what you
thing,
did.
the third thing is parents must be aware that they need help. This is why we are here.
Yeah.
You, me, and Dave are here. They need help. They must have someone to talk to, explain their problem. And this is what many, many parents, many adults think, that they can solve their problem. But, okay. Long ago, we live in a sort of, not a nuclear family, that is, you have the grandparents, everyone. Problems were solved at the table.
Yes.
Dinner table, we were eating. The father was explaining something, the grandfather will tell him what to do, what not to do. We watch these things, we know how, the decisions were taken. But today we don't have all these things.
And we don't always have a sounding board to move through our problems. So our problems internalize in our brains to the point where it drives us a little bit crazy, because we've got no one to share it with. So the things that we think we are doing right, maybe with a little bit of a course correction, could be 1,000 times better. And let's face it, raising teenagers requires a lot of grey matter, in the fact that you need to be quite a few steps in front of them. And the thing is, they think that you've never experienced anything like they are experiencing. And it's not that we haven't, we've just experienced it a little bit differently, or when they think that they're lying to us and we can't and we can't tell when they're not being completely truthful, or when something happens and we go, but that isn't my child doesn't behave like that. So there's more to some things, where most parents would just go, oh, well, they're behaving badly, they get grounded, or they lose screen time, or they can't go and see their friends, or whatever it happens to be. But I think it's like you say, we need to foster an environment where our children feel safe enough to come to us and say, you know, or clients, you know, in our respect, to be able to come into an environment where they feel safe enough to be themselves and to reveal the things that are troublesome or weighing them down. And I think most of the time when you offload whatever it happens to be, once you've expressed it, it's never as big as what you've made the story or the pictures in your own head, and going, oh, well, that's okay. We've, you know, either I've been through that, or Dad's been through that, or someone we know has been through something like that. We know how to move through this problem. You know, and like you say, if you don't know how to move through something, get some help, put your hand up, you know, and say you need assistance. I don't think there's, you know, people are very slow to putting their hand up and saying, I don't know how to handle my own child, or I don't know how to handle this mess in my relationship or in my workplace, or wherever it happens to be. And sometimes the solution is really simple, but it's not until you are vulnerable enough to ask for help that you find a solution for things. I'm sure Dave has experienced the same with working with clients, in that them getting to air it makes such a difference for them to go away feeling a lot lighter than when they came in the door.
I think like with people having, you know, like the amount of information that we have out there now, people are getting confused, like whom to ask for help now. You know, like, because there are so many possibilities and so many ideas out there. So they are like, I don't know which one to go to. And that's what we talk about, you know, like trusting your gut and trusting your instinct. Because like your child does not come with a manual, you know, like you don't have a proper manual that's going to tell you, oh, this, if this happened, go to page, you know, like, I don't know. You know, like, don't go, it doesn't happen like this. So every child in a way is different, but similar, and it can be confusing, that statement, you know, like, but the upbringing is like, what we mean is like everyone is unique, but parenting doesn't mean a change, even with their uniqueness. It's like navigating through their uniqueness, you know, and I feel that's what my dad and mom are doing as well, because what my mom is not saying as well, she's helping like single mom or mom as well, you know, like to build their businesses. So in a way, like they're working together, you know, like as my parents, I mean my parents are working together to help parents to navigate through the divine mess of parenting as well. So they are both doing that in their own way. And as you can see, like my dad, you know, like he will have more, he come prepared with his point, and he did his research. But I feel like both of them have their practical and research side of things. And that's where experience come into play. And I feel like young parents, sometimes they forget to listen, you know, like they forget to listen to, they say, oh, you come from a different era or generation, you wouldn't understand. Even if the landscape change, it doesn't mean that the human side of thing change, you know, like it's like how you navigate through it, like how you tell your kids, you know, like and I know like Tina and my parents will have more experience and more say into that, and I'm sure like my sister will have more, again, as parent. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that what I meant is like human, like we are social beings at the core. It's like recognizing the uniqueness in each individual, and as parents is like embracing that uniqueness and encouraging that uniqueness to come through, to shine through. And they don't come with a manual, of course, but with the help of the maybe older generation or the generation before, working together, you can achieve more than working on your own.
Yeah.
By helping each other to understand with their knowledge and their wisdom, and with the new generation, with maybe a better understanding of the new landscape, like you put it, the landscape, I like that word. And the new landscape, you combine both of them, you can get something magical out of it. You can get like, like teenagers who are like thriving in that environment instead of being stifled, like instead of comparing themselves, like my dad was saying, like in the social media world, you keep comparing yourself now. Even as adults, we do that. Like we compare ourselves constantly about each other's success.
But I think it's one of those things when
And
you're raising children is to understand the uniqueness. Like I have 4 boys that are all very different, but there are similarities in certain spaces about, how they proceed through life, and, whether they're cautious or whether they're full on jump into it. But I think the greatest thing that I've been able to probably give my boys in the last 7 years is learning to trust themselves and learning to understand the signals that their bodies are giving them when things feel strange and not quite right. And, when your body's telling you it's time to go home and leave a party, there's a good reason for it. And when your mother rings you at 11 o'clock at night and says, get in a cab and go home, she's normally right. And then you find out the next day that there was trouble at the party, and then they ring you back and go, you were right, Mum. Your spidey senses were just on point, and I'm glad I got in the cab and went home when I did. But it's that thing that it's very challenging, I think, as a parent, not to want to control who they become. You need to act as the guardrails on the side of the road for your children to be able to drive their own vehicle back and forth until they find their own center point in the road. But you're there in case they have a little accident or they crash their car, or they need propping up somewhere along the line. But I don't think it was a gift that was necessarily given to me in terms of learning how to trust myself. That's been a life experience thing that I have gotten really good at. But it's an interesting question when you say to your children, well, how do you feel about that? Or how do you feel about that person? Or where do you feel that? And they go, oh, well, they don't, I don't enjoy getting along with them. And I'm like, okay, well, it's good that you recognize that, but why? And so I'm instilling that horrible thing in their own brains and getting them to ask more questions than what they normally would.
No, Tina, what I want to, I think all of you will agree with me that, the parents, they don't know how to reach the heads and the hearts of their children. Just to give you one example, very simple, which I've explained to parents, which I witness also sometimes, because the students told me about it. You get someone getting a 95% in mathematics at school, runs home. He's 15, he runs home, and the mother was doing something in the kitchen, and the student, that is his boy, his son, Mom, I've got 95% in maths. There are two. The mother was cooking something, and she said, what about the English? Okay. What about your marks in English? Because the day before, they've got that. But then I told the parents, you should switch off, okay? Switch off everything and sit down with the son. Tell me about it, how the teacher told you about it in class. Then the son will say that everyone claps hands, etc. Even at primary, whatever. Okay, then you make a cup of tea, some cakes, you give him, you're very happy about it. You're reaching the heart. 95% it's the head, of course. It must work, we know. About the English, later you talk to. Very good in maths now. Let us see what we can do. Never, a parent must never say what you can do about your English. What we can do. Then he or she knows that he has the support of someone. If you fail, everyone fails at home.
Yeah.
If you pass, everyone is succeeding. This is the family. What we can do about it. Now, this is what I'm telling the parents here in Mauritius. Someone got marks failed. It's not the end of the world. Myself, I've been through it. Deva has been through it. Everyone. Okay, you have been through
in
it.
physics. Oops.
In physics, I failed in physics, once. I failed in physics because the teacher was giving minus marks for the wrong answers, minus marks. And I still got 40 marks. So you could have imagined I should have got 80 marks. So this is it. That is what I'm telling, what we are trying to help people with our experience. I've been at school, I know, all my students, I go to school very early. Deva will tell you. School starts at 8. I went there at 7. Some students come and talk with me. I coach them a bit, etc. And they tell me about their problems. Many with their parents, with all that. And this is how I help them. And I call the parents, I talk with them, all that. And this is how we have been interested to become a coach of parents of teenagers, all that. But mostly I go to school and I talk. It's group coaching. It's better for me. Okay, telling everything in at one audience, all that. But still, as I'm telling you, we must also reach their hearts. Hug your children, kiss, cry with them. It doesn't matter. They will always remember these times.
I
Okay?
think they remember
But
honesty the most, don't they?
I must tell Deva that at that time I didn't know about this. I was a bit like a stoic, more, no emotion, all that. When she was, because I was following courses at the university, all that coming, all these things. But all the time, we manage for it. Manage for it.
Absolutely. Oh no, I was just saying that it's interesting when my 16-year-old would bring his friends home and his friends would pull up the bar stool at the kitchen and they would start talking to me and they'd turn to my son Darcy and just go, your mum's really cool. And I'm like,
yeah.
no, I'm just kind of practical, right? The thing is, you're people in your own right. You have choices to make. You might not make the greatest choices, but I can't fault you for wanting to make your own choices. It's just that you have to understand that there are consequences that come with all the choices that you choose to make. Some I don't agree with, and you know why I don't agree with them, but it's your experience. It's your life. I've got to allow you a little bit of breathing room to try things on for size and see if the pants actually fit. And if they don't, well, then there's no point being a parent and going, don't, because
Yeah.
they're going to do exactly that. However, if you go, well, do you think maybe you could have done it differently?
Yeah.
And
There is
maybe.
okay. There is one thing that I want, a little incident, not incident, an event in our life with Deva. I can tell them. One day when he was at school, Mahatma Gandhi Institute, he was at school in Mauritius, and you know what happened? My wife's cousin was the maths teacher there, and Deva came late in her class, and she phoned home and told my wife about it. And Deva knew about it, that her auntie had phoned my wife. She'd been late in the maths class. She was playing football on there are many
That sounds about right.
teachers there, okay, coming late in class, all that. He told many things about Deva. She told many things. And then Deva came in the afternoon. I came first at home. My wife was telling me about this. Okay, for me, it's okay. Any boy, I know how it is when you are 15, 16, all that. And then what happens? Deva came with, you know, the face how it is. And he shut the door loudly, get into his room.
Slam.
And I just,
I did
yeah,
slam.
slam the door,
Slam.
slam the door. And then what happens? I go, and he was like a bit crying, all that. I hold him like that. Okay, tell me what has happened. You know, I didn't do anything. I was playing football, and then I came late in class, and she phoned home. She was very angry.
Upset.
Upset. I told him, you know, once myself, I've done it. When I was at school in Form 4, I just escaped from school before the final bell at 1. At that time, it was at 3, the last bell. We passed through a door, okay, with some friends. I returned home, and just for revision before it was before exams. Okay. Then I found that Deva cooled down. Oh, you've done that, you also? Yes, I've done that. But you must not do it again, I told him. Everyone do that. Once I went to watch the cinema. I just go to school half day, and then we go to the cinema hall. There was, you know, the film, the Western at that time playing. We go and watch the Westerns, all that. And we get definitely, the parents get the notes that we have left school earlier, all that. Okay. But we were very good students at that time. But just to tell you that parents must not hide their flaws, how do we say? We all made mistakes. We all made mistakes. If you share it, this will, because, you know, many children, many teenagers believe that their parents are perfect.
So not.
They have never made these things. But
Well, not this
it's
one.
not.
No,
Yeah.
and I think that is the one thing, if you're vulnerable enough to share with your partner, your children, the people that you
Yeah.
work with. And that's the one thing I've impressed with my boys is if you make a mistake, own it. Don't try and weasel your way
Own
out
it.
of it. Don't say you didn't do it. Go right in and go, yeah, that was me. I made a mistake. I messed up. I apologize. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What I've said to them is it takes the heat out of the teacher or the employer or your partner or your friends or whoever it is, because people have a level of expectation that you are going to try and lie your way out of a situation.
Yeah.
You know, it is so much easier to say, yeah, that was me. And my boys have done it on a few occasions and really surprised principals at school or their grandparents or other people. And, you know, people have come to me and gone, your boys fessed up to me about doing something that they shouldn't have done. I said, good.
Yeah.
And they were like, we've never had that happen before, ever. They were very matter of fact. And I said, well, that's the rule in our house. If you muck up, you own it. And you don't
Yeah, you must have.
lie. You know, you get in more trouble for lying than you do for being honest. And my boys have shared things with me that most children wouldn't share with their parents because it is a safe environment for them to go, oh, Mum, I tried drugs, or Mum, I had a drink at a party, or Mum, I drove really fast in my car when I really shouldn't have. They've done things that they've scared themselves with or
Yeah.
gone, I really like doing it and I know it's not good, but I've got to work this through for myself and why I'm doing it. And I said, well, that's your
Yeah.
process. You know, I'm here to support you. That's my role. I don't agree with it, but I'm here to support you whilst you work it out. And, you know, my boys and I have a really close relationship because of that. And their dad
Good.
doesn't have the same, unfortunately, because he chooses
Yeah.
to parent very differently to me. And
Mhm.
we see the results of the different styles of parenting
Yeah.
where their dad will say, well, you talk to them because they don't tell me anything. And I'm like, be vulnerable. Share that you're human. Share that you have
Share.
made mistakes. Share
Yeah.
that you were a young punk once too, and you did stupid things. And, you know, there's all of this stuff in your history that if you don't share it with your sons, they cannot relate with you. All they see is
Definitely.
this authoritarian type of a parent who says,
Yeah.
my way or no way, when they're
Mhm.
both, one's a young man in his own right and one's on the cusp of being there himself. And so they're wanting to sort of stretch and find out what being
Yeah.
a man means, and looking at all of the people that are within vicinity of going, do I want to be like that man, or do I want to be like that man, or, you know, who do I want to emulate? So that's a thing that I think most parents need to take on board, is that we need to be the best versions of ourselves so that our children have something to look up to, but at the same time recognize that we are human and that we make mistakes on a daily basis, but we endeavor
Definitely.
to learn from those to be better people the next day and the day after that. So it's a joy raising children, I must say. It's been my biggest lesson in life, in being, how I term it, the maker of men.
Yeah.
Where, you know, I see it as my role to raise men that I would like to know and that are just good people to be around, you know, that support people when they need it, you know, are courageous enough to try new things, and that love well, you know, that aren't afraid to love well. I think if, you know, if you do that in the end, then you've done your job well, but the parenting doesn't stop. And I'm quite sure you can agree with that.
Never.
The parenting doesn't stop once they leave the nest, you know, that they'll always in your heart be the little men that would
Definitely.
come up with chocolate smushed on their face and dirty hands and, you know, covered in sand or dunked at the beach, or, you know, going, oh, this happened. And it's like, yes, I know. Isn't that great? Shall we do it again?
Yeah.
So it's been such a pleasure having both of you with us
Thank you.
today and sharing some beautiful, slightly sly stories about my very good friend.
Parents.
That's why you never invite your parents.
Some
to
anecdotes.
Yeah.
But you know, this is the way we get to know people on a different level, I think, is by seeing them through the perspective of other people's lenses, in knowing that, you know, the cheeky boy who loved to play football more than anything else and who didn't love school turned out to be one of the most curious adult students I know, who is forever looking for more knowledge and more information. So I'm sure there must have been an environment at home where learning was actively encouraged, no matter how it was undertaken. And he's always sending me new learnings, or I send him a book and he's gone, read that, Dad sent that to me, or Mum sent that to me. So it's or sometimes I'll send him something and he'll go, oh, I haven't read that one. I'm like, beauty, I got one in.
Yeah, it happens once in a blue moon.
One last thing that I will say about Deva. One last thing.
Deva will be happy.
Only one?
Because you're talking about books. You know, when she was around that 14, 15, I asked Deva when she was going to the
Taking a bow.
taking a ball. I say, hey Deva, you don't read anything. You know, what will I read? What will I read? I come like mad like you to read books. Because every day I was sitting, I read many books, you know. I don't say anything. I don't say anything. Then came Harry Potter, the book. I gave him one copy. He loved it a lot. And then for the second copy, he came to me, Dad, the second copy will come in the bookshop. Can you give me some money? I will reserve one for me. I don't say anything. I give him the money. And then each time that we go shopping, we must go into a bookshop first. Deva will buy books first, and then later things that he needs. And so today, this is why I'm telling parents, just your children will follow your example in one way or the other. Don't shout at them if they don't do this, don't do that. Continue, do it you, the parents. Continue to do the things that you feel that must be done. Don't tell them, they follow examples. They will not, you can tell them something, they will not follow it. But when you do it, then you're planting the seed. Then one day you will see that they will do the thing that you're doing.
1000%. Absolutely. Well, my good friend, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, I think my mom has something
And
to say.
I
Yes,
want to
please,
tell you
Ruby.
something. No, sorry to disturb you. No, I just want to say, now I am a retired woman. After retirement, we still have to learn. I have learned a lot from Deva. I want to thank you and Tina and Deva. I am very proud. And now I am a businesswoman. I'm learning a lot. I got this from Deva. We still 1 whole year. We have learned so many things. We just want to share it. We are working on women at home.
Helping women
Helping women at home
in a business.
in a
Yeah.
business. That's what I want to.
Fabulous.
I wish I will share more when afterwards. Okay. So I thank you. I am very proud to talk with you and Deva. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming. It was a
Have a
pleasure.
nice time. Thank you.
A lot of
Thank you.
there, like about parenting especially,
Yes.
like there's a lot of wisdom and good stories. So you got 2 good stories about me.
More about
Uh,
Deva.
there's
Have
more,
plenty, plenty.
So
I think,
many we have.
yeah, more than enough for now. But I'm really grateful for both of them and for you, Tina. You know, like
Thank
to
you.
have this opportunity for them to express themselves. Especially like my mom. For people who doesn't know, like she never spoke English. And she started learning English like 1 year ago. So for her to speak fluently like this, we know, like our family knows what an achievement is that, because she's like really good
Yeah,
in French, like excellent.
definitely.
You can't beat her in French.
Thank you.
But English is, it shows her how she was thirsty to,
Determination.
and the courage as well, you know, like for both my parents, still after retiring, like to repurpose their life. So people who are listening, you know, like you feel that you're too old. I'm not going to say their age, but you know, like you can imagine, like
They're
combined,
young teenagers, aren't they?
yeah, like the
Thank
combined,
you,
you
Tina.
know, knowledge. It's
Mm.
over 100 years, you know, like over a century of knowledge combined. So you can guess or imagine, but this is just to tell you, like you can repurpose your life at any point in you want, even if your life is going south, you know, like you can just stop and think, and you got nuggets about parenting, you got good stories about me, and Tina was good to find out, right? That's what she wanted, in a way. I feel it's because anyway, I knew about those stories, and for me, it's like to accept and listen to those stories. That's a great achievement as well. To take it like with not like shame, nothing. I'm not ashamed at all. Like maybe like 10 years ago, maybe I would have been. But that's when you do your inner work and you know, like you look back at those memories and you can have a laugh with your parents. Actually, podcast, you know, like you can have a laugh and you can have a blast. Even if I said like that's why you don't invite your parents to a party, but if you invite those two, it's the life of the party. So I can guarantee that.
Fabulous. Well, hopefully in January 2025, we can do a podcast in French when I'm much better at my French,
Yeah.
like Ruby is in her English.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I will help you.
that-
Definitely, I will help you.
Good.
I'm practicing.
Yeah.
I am practicing. He knows I'm practicing.
Okay.
But that's
Next
telling you
time
like
we meet, we talk
this-
in French.
shows dedication, you
Thank
know, like
you.
saying like
Mm.
when you want to learn something, you will go for it. Once you decide, you will go for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great start of the year with a lot of wisdom for the parents. You know, like and I'm
Yes.
sure like a lot of them who are listening, they're like, yep, they're going to high school maybe this year, and how do I manage them? And with this conversation, there was a lot, I feel like if you really listen to it, there's a lot of messages in there. So I hope like everyone listening, you have a great year ahead, and you do take time to listen to this episode, not because it's my parents, but because these are like 2 beautiful souls, including Tina, third one, and me, as of course, embodying everyone, you know. But it's like it was a beautiful conversation. I know Mom didn't speak much, but she was present as much. So really appreciate all of you, both of you and Tina, for giving again this opportunity for my parents.
Next
You know,
time.
share
Next
their life,
time I will come.
the world, for sure. So I will leave you to finish as usual.
Yeah.
Well,
You can
as
stop.
we always say, we love you. We think you're amazing. Thank you for tuning
Thank
in, and we look forward to having you again at some stage in the future. And for
Yeah.
all of our gorgeous listeners, welcome to 2024.
Yeah.
It's my 50th year. It's going to be amazing. So let's get on with
Yes.
it.
And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of the energy,
Yeah.
right? That's what you said. Yeah, just to confirm. Okay, on that note, we
On
all
that
love-
note, ciao,
So we are
everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Deva.
Bye, my friend.
Bye.
Thank you very much.